Hello everyone and welcome to another Sunday afternoon chat on a beautiful, but a little bit chilly Sunday afternoon here in Oklahoma. I'm at my daughter Sherry's house. That's the woods behind their house, right out there behind me. I don't know how many acres Jack's got here, but he's got a pretty nice. Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! Did something get you? That's Benelli you hear whining back there. I think the barbed wire fence got her back there. Went through a barbed wire fence. I think it cut her a little bit, or at least that one of the barbs bit her a little bit, and she thought something was on her and biting her. It's amazing. They'll learn to be a little bit more careful around those barbed wire fences. Absolutely no doubt about that. What a great week we had. We wasn't at the Eagle a whole lot this week. We were there toward the majority of last week, and got to go to church down there at Midway Hills Baptist Church last week, and left out of there on a Wednesday. So we were actually there about 8 or 9 straight days, and had a great time there with the deer, watching the deer and carrying on. Had pretty nice weather, not too bad of weather at all. A couple of days in there that was really nice, but just pretty chilly really all week. But we got a little wind blowing right now here, and but we have got some weather coming the next 2 or 3 days. I'm talking about Chamber of Commerce type weather, you know, the kind of weather that cities brag about that they have. We've got a couple of really nice Mondays and Tuesdays right here, and then Wednesday is forecast to be 73 degrees at Twin Eagle Ranch. 73 degrees. Now the next day is forecast to be about opposite of that. You just about turn those numbers around. Actually 46, I think, is what it's supposed to be for the high. Down in the 20s for the low. It's Valentine's Day is this coming week. All you guys remember, you got to get Valentine's for your ladies. Valentine can be in the form of candy. It can be in the form of a great big nice dinner out. It can be in the form of beautiful lingerie. You got to get yourself something at the same time you buy your Valentine something. And you girls now, you got to buy your Valentine something too. So just remember that. Think about that out there. I'm taking Chris not on Valentine's Day, on Tuesday, but I guess Valentine's Day is Tuesday, isn't it? Yeah. But on Thursday to see Jesus Christ Superstar in Oklahoma City, Broadway play, and we're really looking forward to that. I never in my life thought that I would ever really enjoy Broadway plays, but I do. I love them. You know, I've seen a couple of them in actually on Broadway in New York. We've seen them out in Las Vegas, and I'll be able to see this one in Oklahoma City. And okay, they seem like we saw one somewhere else. Oh, Branson, Missouri. Saw Jesus at Branson, Missouri. That's right. So this is different than that play there. This is because it's Jesus Christ Superstar, which has been around for years and years and years. But it's a spectacular. I've seen the previews of it, or the samples, or the teases, or whatever they call them, and it's absolutely incredible. So anyway, we're looking forward to this coming week. This last week was really good because we ended the week. We left down there Wednesday. I left on a Wednesday and brought Chris over to Sherry and Jack's house to spend the weekend. I then drove to Little Rock, Arkansas. That's right, Little Rock, Arkansas, to catch an airplane. And Little Rock, Arkansas is 220 miles from Sherry's house. So it's about 400 and some odd miles from my house to catch an airplane. If you're going to drive 420 miles to catch an airplane, you just will drive wherever you're going. But caught an airplane in Little Rock, Arkansas, flew on a Thursday afternoon to Columbus, Ohio, and worked the big Columbus National Fishing Expo. And it was just so much fun, so much fun. We had a big crowd there on Friday. That event went Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's wrapping up today. And we had just a great time. Well, sorry about that, but Benelli decided that she wanted to read my Catch a Better Life book, and you can see I had it laying on the ground. This is Benelli right here. See that right there? It's Benelli. By the way, if you are not subscribed to the Catch a Better Life channel on YouTube, look at that. She's reading right from the front of the book. Reading right from the front of the book. Look at that. I tore that page out. I actually left this book out in the rain the other night. I left it out on my front deck, and let it sit there all day, and it rained on it, and so some of the pages are beginning to stick together. So I don't know. I might just draw a name out and give that to somebody, you know, because that's a special one right there. Pages have gone out of it. Teeth marks on it. Got the corner of it. I heard her having some fun there, and I looked down, and sure enough, this is what was happening. So the joy of raising a Labrador pup, the joy of raising a Labrador puppy. I mean, who could do it any other way? So be throwing that in the trash, some of those deals. And better hold this in my hand, huh? Better hold it in my hand. Oh, that's funny. Anyway, we were there at the Columbus National Fishing Expo. They hold those in 4 different cities, but we were there on a Friday, and with just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people showed up. I think they had, I don't know, 2,000 or 3,000 people show up, and it was just a really, really good show. The show Saturday and Sunday, I'm sure, had even larger attendances than that. Super show. I met a lot of really nice folks up there, saw a lot of friends that I hadn't seen in quite a little while, and just had a super time. Left there. Got up at 5 o'clock yesterday morning and flew from there back down to Little Rock where my truck was. Drove down with about another 120 miles on further south down to McGehee, Arkansas. And that is McGehee. Is that McGehee or McGehee? Now, I pronounced that McGehee, Arkansas all my life. And I asked Sherry, I said, you know, I've been saying McGehee, Arkansas all my life, driven through there 1,000 times. Will you ask somebody over there if the locals pronounce it McGehee or McGehee, because I've always said McGehee. And so she did, and whomever she asked, which was Clay, she asked Clay, and Clay said it's McGehee. McGehee. You got to you don't put a big E on the Gee, but you got to say McGehee. And so I got over there yesterday. I finally drove over there, got over there about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 4:30. And when I said McGehee, somebody said, Jimmy, it's McGehee. It's not McGehee. You're going to get run out of town if you start saying McGehee. And I looked over at Kay, and they said, it is not. It is McGehee, Arkansas. So I guess that Sherry asked the wrong guy. Clay's a great guy. He made me some little crappie jigs. He made me a little box of crappie jigs that he makes, and they're just absolutely beautiful. I mean, they're gorgeous. I can't wait to get out there and try them, man. Hopefully I'm going to get to fish a couple hours on Wednesday, so I might tie one on, try one sometime Wednesday. But we had a great time over there at McGehee, Arkansas. We had a beast feast that was one of the best I have ever seen. It probably had the best tasting food that I've ever seen in a beast feast. We had a pheasant casserole. It was absolutely out of sight. We had duck and wild pig boudin at balls, and they were just great. We had the deer meat was great. We had quail breast, where they'd cut the breast into 2 or 3 pieces, wrap it in bacon, put it on the grill. And of course we had fried quail legs, fried running gear. We had deer meat, elk meat, bear meat, I don't know what all, but just absolutely, I mean, it was out of sight. And the dessert, they had all kinds of desserts. And listen, they do it right in McGehee, Arkansas. They do it absolutely perfect because they put out all the desserts first. When you get there, before they ever start the food line, like an hour before the food line, you go through the dessert bar. And they had all the desserts that so many of the families and women, I'm sure, had prepared and brought up there to that. Just all kinds of different desserts. And there was one that was blueberries on some cream filling and like a Oreo, not an Oreo, but a graham cracker, some kind of cracker on the bottom. It was to die for. It'd make you slap your grandma away from the table. I'm telling you, it was just like out of sight. In fact, it was so good that my buddy I was sitting right across the table from, TC, he had a big one, like a double or triple size that he had cut out of there. And it had like a couple of bites out of it. I'd seen it sitting on that table from about 4:30, 5 o'clock on, and we got through eating. And so I sat down finally with my food, and there was 3 or 4 bites, and I thought somebody might have left it. So I got my fork, and I thought, well, I'd try a bite. Oh, man, it was like heaven in your mouth. And so he said, oh, by the way, that's my dessert. And I said, well, you better be eating it. I said, I'll just eat this half over here. Sitting across the table, I'll eat to the halfway point. You eat to the halfway point. That way we'll have it done. He said, well, okay. He said, and so I got to my halfway point, I guess a little bit quicker than he did. And there was another nice sized piece sitting there that nobody had touched. I didn't know I thought somebody had just left it. They probably got full up eating all the other great stuff and left it. So he said, by the way, that one's mine too. And I said, you got you 2 desserts over there? Baptists do that. And he said, yeah. He said, I took a bite or 2 over there in line when I cut it. That's those bites that were gone. And it was so good, I thought I better get me another piece before they run out of it. And so he said, you can have that other piece. And I said, no, I'm going to tell you just what a nice guy I am. I'm going to share that other piece with you too. we'll half that. I'll turn it around and I'll say, I'll eat the half, you eat the half. And so when I got up to speak, you know, it was that one piece was sitting there, and I had eaten my half down to about the last 3 or 4 bites, which I left for him. And so I picked it up and I said, I don't know who made this. I don't know who made this. And the lady was actually sitting at our table, not too far down. She raised her head kind of humbly, and I said, let me tell you what. That is the most incredible woman in this entire building. I want to tell you right there. And she had 3 beautiful kids there. And she looked over to her husband when I said that, like, you see what Jimmy said? I'm the most incredible woman in this building. And she is. And I couldn't believe her husband didn't weigh like 500 pounds. She makes stuff like that for him to eat. Because and it really, and she came up and visited a little bit after the event, and she's just a super nice woman, super nice family, beautiful family. But we had a great time over there. Those folks are just like me. The McGee, Arkansas, South Arkansas, hunters, fishermen. They had, while we were there at that deal, they had the kids buck contest, and they had prizes, a big bunch of prizes for the top 50 bucks scored. And a little 11-year-old girl had a buck, a whitetail buck that scored 206. That's 206 inches of antlers. Probably was not over 2 or 3 or 4 men in that entire building, and we had 400, 500, 600 people there. Probably not 2 or 3 or 4 men in there that had killed a deer that big. And this little girl's 11 years old. And I told her, I said, baby, the only thing, it's hard to beat that PB. It's going to be hard to beat that. And she said, I'm going to beat it this year, Jimmy. So I just love it. I just love it. And even when you got down to maybe the top 50 deer, the youth buck contest, got prizes, real nice prizes, real nice. A lot of tree stands and various things to hunt and fish with, rod and reels and tackle boxes and all kinds of stuff that they had for these kids. But when even when you got down to about number 30 in the scoring, it's like 125 or 130 score deer. So these kids really done good. That's a great area. That's farm area over there around Dumas, around McGee, Arkansas. Farm area, and they've got a lot of big bucks in there, and those kids are getting after them. I guarantee you, they're getting after them big time. So we had 2 great personal appearances this next weekend. I think, again, I'll check this out and do another video throughout the week, but I think that we only work Saturday this weekend. I think, in fact, I believe I'll be back at the ranch Saturday night and be able to be in my own church again, Midway Hills Baptist. I think I've been there two Sundays in a row, which is kind of unusual. Haven't missed any Sundays, but I've been over here at Keys Baptist Church just about as much. Of course, I don't know if they'd ask me anyway, but figure if I keep coming over here week after week after week like I've been doing, they might ask me if I want to be a deacon over here again, but probably not. Probably not. I am a deacon down at Midway Hills. But they may kick me off over there if I don't start showing up a little bit more often. But this is the time of the year we're working a lot on the weekends, and sometimes we work Saturday nights at events. And next Saturday night is an event that we work Saturday night. So I actually will be flying back on Sunday morning back home. Sherry's coming to the ranch. We will be at the ranch all week. Chris will be there next weekend. Sherry will actually get to go to our church down there next Sunday morning and take Chris to our church down there, Midway Hills Baptist, between Sulphur and Davis, Oklahoma. So we've got a really great week planned this week. Valentine's Day coming up on the 14th. Going to go see Jesus Christ Superstar on Thursday night, the 16th. And then we will be a church south of Birmingham, Asheville, Alabama. Asheville, Alabama. I'll give you a little more information about that. I want to think that event might start a little bit earlier in the evening, maybe around 4:30, 5 o'clock. But anyway, it's Thursday evening. Saturday evening, the 18th. Oh, Lordy mercy. I'll be in Oklahoma City while you're watching that play. But they're Saturday evening. So if you're anywhere around Birmingham area, the Atlanta area, or this side of Atlanta, we'll be at that church. And I believe that is probably First Baptist Asheville. I'm not positive of that, but I believe it's First Baptist Asheville, Alabama. And we're going to have a great evening that evening, I promise you. You know, it's a great Baptist church there, great individuals in that church, and we're going to have a great time. So plan on being there if you're anywhere around Asheville, Alabama. And I'll give you a little bit more information about that this week. I just don't have any of that stuff in front of me right now. We are close. We've been talking about February 14, February 16. A big date is February 15. February 15 in the South, and it depends on where you are in the South. You may live further south, and this happens a little bit earlier, but February 15th in southern Oklahoma, Arkansas, southern Missouri, really pretty much the whole state of Oklahoma, not just southern Oklahoma. But that February 15th is the day on a calendar where the year sort of turns around. The year sort of turns around, and we see spring peeking around the corner. And we have days like this, which is still a little bit chilly, but a really nice, beautiful, sunshiny day, blue sky everywhere. And we've got days then, the next 2 or 3 days, 3 days in a row, where it's going to be 60, 65, 70, 73, 74. And then another little cold front will come through, and it's going to be 46 degrees. But that cold front is only going to last like a couple, 2 or 3 days. I think we got like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, it's going to be back up in the 60s. And then you may have another little cold front. So the cold fronts are shorter durations, and they're not nearly as violent. They're not nearly as bad. It doesn't get nearly as cold. And then you're followed by some weather that's warmer than it's been in several months. So we're turning into spring. It's turning into spring. So February 15th, that happens this week. I think it's on a Wednesday. And once that date gets here, that's the date that you turn it around and God starts making spring happen all over the southern part of the United States. Now, if you go down a little bit further south, it's happening a lot quicker than that. But February 15th, it's a day that I look for in February. February doesn't have as many days in it as the rest of the month because most of the hunting seasons are closed. The good fishing hadn't really started yet. But can I tell you, we're going to go out there and fish a little bit Wednesday in that 70-degree day. Probably only a couple, 2 or 3 hours maybe. I'm just going to go out and fish there at the ranch. But have a good time. But then the next trip we got planned is the end of this month to go down and fish in northern Florida and southern Georgia for a couple, 2 or 3 days to do some television shows. We'll have those for you, and we'll have some stuff right here on social media as well. Guys and girls, go out there and have you a great one this week. One of the greatest times of the year is this beginning to start happening, spring. Spring, when God takes these dead trees, dead grass, dead everything, and breathes life back into it. And you know, it happens year after year after year. We have a God that is faithful to do the things that He's promised. Guys and girls, go out there and have you a great week. And remember, I sure do love you.